So maybe you have failed somewhere in life or in a relationship and you feel a sense of humiliation. But I'm going to talk about why you don't necessarily need to feel that way. So I was listening to an episode of the Fail Better podcast. I'll post the link in the description. But this episode featured Robert Downey Jr. If you don't know who that is, he played Tony Stark in the Iron Man films. Um, but it was a great episode. But if you don't know Robert Downey Jr.'s backstory before he became Iron Man, um, he had a long history. He had a rough upbringing with his father and with drug addiction and going to prison. I mean, he had hit rock bottom. I mean, there was no hope for him, at one point. But no, over the years he had uh, worked on himself, healed himself, gotten out of drug addiction, and eventually became, Iron Man, the guy we all know and love today, the Robert Downey Jr. we know and love today. Um, but what what I got from this episode from Robert Downey Jr.'s story was this choice of being humiliated, feeling humiliation, or feeling a sense of humility. Which of course, there's a difference there, because he certainly failed in life. Okay, before he became Iron Man, he failed in so many parts of life, with drug addiction and going to prison and all this other stuff. But he chose not to feel humiliation. He instead to look at it from a sense of humility. And I think we can all do that with our failures in life. And that this really helps me, because look, we've all failed in life. Okay, I've failed in life. I've failed at relationships. I've failed in so many areas of life. But I have a choice here. Okay, we have a choice here. We can choose to feel humiliated, okay, and beat ourselves up and drown ourselves in guilt and depression, whatever. Or we can take those failures, take those lessons, and come from a place of humility, okay? Um, come from a place of humility and not beat ourselves up so much and say, yeah, you know what? I did fail. I did mess up there in that job or in that relationship, whatever it was. Look at it from a place of humility, and it humbles you. And what that means is, what that does is, it makes you more confident. It makes you more confident in yourself. Um, so there's two ways to go about that, about your failures in life. Are you going to choose to be humiliated? Or are you going to feel humiliated? Or are you going to come from a place of humility and say, yes, that happened. I failed there. I learned some lessons, and now I can move forward with that and do better with these lessons. And I think that is where redemption lies. If you want to read about a story of redemption, read about, look into Robert Downey Jr.'s story, from being a drug addict and a convicted felon, and to becoming Iron Man. I think that's where redemption lies. Are you going to choose to be humiliated? Are you going to choose to feel humiliated, or are you going to choose to say, you know what? I'm going to feel a sense of humility instead, and I'm going to be humble, and I'm going to learn from my failures and move forward and become more confident. And those failures make me who I am, what I learned from them, and it humbles me, and I operate from a sense of humility. I think we can all, learn from that. So that's the takeaway from this video. Yes, we all have failures in life. I certainly do. Are you going to choose to feel humiliated, or are you going to choose to feel a sense of humility? And that's where redemption starts. So I hope this video was helpful. Please share your thoughts, your experiences, any questions in the comments. Please share your stories. You take care, and I'll see you in the next video.